Hey guys, so I wanted to touch up on a topic that's very popular in the fitness industry about genetics. And first off, I want to start off saying that I agree that genetics play a huge role in how muscular you can be, and that there will be people who have way better genetics than you regarding strength and muscle mass. But a lot of people want to use the excuse that they've reached their genetic max or that they don't have the best genetics 2 or 3 years into their lifting career, or even 20 years into their lifting career, because they haven't done the proper training blocks or the diet and the surplus that it requires to reach your genetic maximum. And so many people are fixated on staying lean year round. And the problem with when you're staying lean year round is you're spending a significant amount of time not in a surplus, in and out of maintenance, and in a deficit. So to actually achieve a rate of progression in acquiring muscle mass, you need a significant surplus. Not a huge surplus, but I would say about 250 to 500 calories for an intermediate to advanced lifter and 500 calories for a beginner. I would recommend gaining about 1% of your body weight per week. And you can't just keep doing cuts and having them implemented every year. I think you need, especially as a beginner, you need to be spending your first 1 to 2 years of lifting in a surplus and only mini cut when necessary. And when you mini cut, that mini cut should not last more than 6 weeks. It should not be super aggressive to the point that you're losing strength and lean mass, because it's just digging a recovery hole that you won't get yourself out of. So the problem with this is when you're in a deficit, your body is not wanting, and it doesn't have the energy to put on muscle mass. So when you're in a surplus, your body has more than what it needs to put on muscle mass. So then we would go to the training element. And in the training element, we know the basics. Train a muscle group twice per week with relatively high intensity and volume. So what I recommend is taking most sets to 1 rep in reserve shy of failure, or 2 reps, and then your last set, always take it to failure. Now, me personally, how I train, I do a low volume approach. Not saying that that's best for you, not saying that you should, but I take most of all of my sets to failure because of my lifestyle and the fact that I'm married and have 2 kids. So I don't have a substantial amount of time in the gym. My personal split, I run push-pull legs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, push-pull Thursday and Friday, and I'll hit my side delts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I take a hypertrophy approach. So I just ended a cut, and my next goal will be the bulking phase. So in the bulking phase, I'll be gaining half a pound a week, 2 pounds a month, which is 1% of my body weight per month. I'm not doing an aggressive dirty bulk, and I'm not going so slow that I can't even see a body weight change. Now, if I was to stick with this for 10 months, that would be a 20-pound weight gain from my current body weight. I'm 6'3" and weigh 220 pounds, and that will get me to 240. Now, you're probably wondering, Chandler, you said the topic was genetics. Why are you talking about all this? Because a lot of people are not eating enough, and they're not training sufficiently. And if they're training sufficiently, they're not supplying that training with the proper nutrition. So if you're not gaining weight on the scale as a natural lifter, you're never going to achieve your maximum muscular potential. And the people that advocate for main gaining or very conservative lean bulking or staying too lean are people that are obsessed with being too lean, or advanced lifters who have barely any more muscle mass to gain and have substantial amounts of muscle mass than the person watching this video. So they don't advocate for bulking because they don't get much out of a bulk anymore. But you have much more to get out of a bulk. So with a bulk, a lot of people overeat. They have a seafood diet and they gain way too much weight and acquire too much fat in such a short amount of time. And that's going to put you in this yo-yo dieting approach where you look in the mirror and you immediately want to cut. And I have been a victim to this. I am no better than you. We all have fallen victim to being on YouTube and seeing these genetic outliers who have a substantial amount of muscle mass and stay lean, and we think that's what we need to do as well. But as a natural lifter, you need to be well fed. You need to have a proper, sustainable is the key, approach to training that you can stick to. And you need to be monitoring the scale and making sure that you're gaining weight as you lift. So the way that genetics falls, genetics has a huge impact on how much muscle you can actually gain as a lifter. But you cannot possibly know where you fall in the genetic spectrum until you've tried everything. You've ran a small surplus for a decade. You have barely taken any cuts except to clean the fat off. You have done proper training. You've tried low volume, high intensity. You've tried moderate intensity and high volume. You've tried everything. You've messed with frequency. You've messed with volume. You've messed with intensity. You went back to the drawing board time and time again. And we see this even with Eric Helms, who's been lifting for over 20 years and has made a substantial amount of progress by going back to the drawing board and starting over again. We need to, as a community, understand that we don't know our capabilities or our genetic limit until we have pushed ourselves time and time again. And even then, we don't know our limit and we don't know what could be critiqued. Is it your sleeping? Is it your recovery? Are you doing too much volume? Are you training right? Are you deloading on time? There's so many factors that go into it that you should not just be blaming your genetics. I grew up as a skinny kid, and I'm not saying I'm a genetic freak by any means, but I've gained a substantial amount of muscle mass by not being so lean focused and gaining weight over time and building my physique, staying in the gym, staying consistent, and being progressive with my weights. But a lot of the genetic stuff and the steroid accusation falls from insecurities, if we're being honest. Like, so many people want to say, yes, that guy's on steroids or that guy is a genetic freak, because it makes you cope with the fact that you may never get there. And all that's going to do is hinder you from ever trying to achieve that. Because you don't know what you're capable of until you've tried, guys. I mean, let's say that the latter is true and you have bad genetics. It is still worth lifting because you will progress and build a physique that is substantially more healthier, more stronger, and more capable than the physique that you have now. And being lean and being so physique obsessed is not going to fix those insecurities, guys. We lift because we want to grow spiritually, physically, and intellectually. When we lift, we're doing this to create a positive mental aspect. And a lot of people are based on aesthetics, and I think that's okay. But you shouldn't be so focused on being lean until you've built your base and actually given it 100% effort to trying to reach your genetic maximum potential, especially for people that want to be big. And you're not going to be big if you're so focused on what other people are doing, focusing on other people's genetics, you're in your own body, you have your own genetic capabilities. And I mean, the numbers that you put up, the scale weight that you possess, the amount of muscle that you gain over time, it should be relative to your own progress. And some of the stuff you do may not be impressive to others, and it may be substantially more impressive than what other people are capable of. But you can only go based off your own rate of progression. You can't compare yourself to someone else and say, this guy's farther than me because he's on steroids or because he has exceptionally good genetics. Guys, you need to look at your own training, go back to the drawing board and say, am I doing everything that I'm capable of doing to improve myself, to better myself? Have I done everything that is required of me to put on the amount of muscle mass that I'm trying to accumulate over time? And it takes years, guys. And don't be so focused on being lean, because you can literally cut that fat off in 3 to 5 months, but it takes 3 to 5 years of consistent time in a surplus to build the amount of muscle mass that you're trying to accumulate. And we see this rate of progression where it says year 1, a natural lifter will gain anywhere from 10 to 25 pounds of muscle, year 2, 10 to 15, year 3, 5 to 10 pounds, and then it drops off over time. But that's only assuming that you've had optimal time in a surplus, optimal training, optimal sleep, optimal recovery. So you might have not even gotten your beginner gains yet at year 1 because you wasn't training appropriately. And I see this so many times that people will base whether they're beginner, intermediate, or advanced based off the years that they have trained. I don't know about you guys, but I did not train optimally year 1 and 2. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to take a deep dive into myself, into my training, and I had to learn how to improve that training. So what I see is so many people will say, I'm intermediate, I've gotten my beginner gains, or I've gotten all my intermediate gains, so there's no point in bulking anymore. I guarantee you didn't do it optimally. People will say they've been lifting for 10 to 15 years, but how much of that time was in a surplus? How much of that time was chasing abs and being lean and starving yourself and not training appropriately? Have you dedicated 5 to 6 hours a week of training? Have you pushed that progression? Have you had relatively high intensity during that training? Have your lifts went up? Have you been going to failure on a regular basis? Have you been close to failure? How do you rate your progression or the fact that you're even training close to failure? You don't know, guys. You don't know what you're capable of. You don't know where you failed. You don't know what's going on. I mean, the reason why it takes people so long to reach their maximum potential is because we still all have so much to learn as a community, and we can only rely on the experts to tell us, hey, this is good, but it might not be best for you. Because the problem with science is we're not really going based off the factors or the elements that are controlled. We're going based off of other people's genetics. So guys, I just wanted to make this video to let you know that you shouldn't be too concerned or physique obsessed about your genetics and what you can achieve, but you should look at your training, look at your nutrition, and actually go based off of what you've done and what you can achieve. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.